When I started growing my cash stack through flipping in old school RuneScape, Barrows items quickly became one of my favorite flips. Barrows items have high trading volume and higher trading limits than most PVM gear. Today, I'm going to share my optimal strategy for how I flip Barrows items to maximize profit while also considering flipping speed. Drop a like and let's get into some flipping. We're over at the Grand Exchange with 100 mil in the inventory, and Barrows items are going to work best for players who are in the 25 to 100 mil cash stack range. Barrows items usually don't have crazy margins, they're fairly consistent, but what makes them really profitable is the ability to trade 15 of them every 4 hours, and that is for every single Barrows piece individually, not for the armor sets. So today, we're going to go ahead and list a bunch of my favorite Barrows items to flip, talk through them, and talk about the average margins you should be getting on each one. I recommend performing manual margin checks on Barrows items in-game because it's honestly not that expensive to do, as the margins are pretty stable, and the reason that is because the trading limit on them is higher than most other PVM items. You can buy 15 of any Barrows related item in a 4-hour period, so that higher trade volume makes these items pretty stable as far as margins go. We have all of our Barrows flips listed and all of our GP deployed onto the exchange. Everything you see on screen right here are my favorite items to flip as far as Barrows items go, and my personal favorites out of the bunch are the Carol's Leather Top, Aram's Robe Skirt, Aram's Robe Top, and the Carol's Leather Skirts. And the reason I like them so much is because they tend to have the biggest margins out of all of them, and they still have relatively quick trades. I typically don't wait any more than 6 minutes on a Barrows item if it stops buying, so as you can see here, the Carol's Leather Tops and the Aram's Robe Skirts are going to need a quick adjustment in a second. But also, let me talk about why I like to flip the Torag's plate legs. Now, Torag's is obviously not a very popular armor in old school RuneScape. The bonus that Torag's gives is not very good, it drains run energy, but that being said, people do buy the Torag's plate bodies and the plate legs, and the reason that is because it has the same defensive bonuses as Darox, but it is a cheaper alternative. So you'll see a lot of lower level players that just unlocked Barrows gear, you'll see them buy Torag's as it's a very cheap option to get the same defensive bonuses as Darox. We're doing a slight margin adjustment on the Carol's Leather Tops. Typically when I'm doing a margin adjustment, I just bump it up about 1k, and the reason that is because I want to make sure my listing is above everyone else's, but is still going to buy the item at a relatively cheap price. And the thing with these Barrows items is the margins do move very slightly, but the margin typically itself stays pretty consistent. So I'll still be making I think it's 13k on the Carol's Leather Tops for every single one that I flip, but I will be getting in for a little bit higher of a price now, although I doubt that's really a big deal. I'm recording these clips back to back, and you'll see that everything is buying out pretty quickly. That's why I love the Barrows items, because the margins are usually about over 10k or so on each specific item, and the higher trade volume just makes the offers fill extremely fast. I'm not sure if I've actually mentioned this already or not, but if you're flipping Barrows items, I typically don't take less than a 10k margin on an item. If an item has less than a 10k margin, then I'm not going to flip it. There's so many Barrows items that you can try out and test, so if you can't find a 10k margin on one, just try and margin check a few others, see if you can find at least a 10k margin to take advantage of. I know it's a lot of clips back to back here, guys, and a lot of information coming at you, so if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. And also, if you want to ask me any questions personally, you can join our Discord group with the link in the description below as well. We have a flipping Discord where we teach new players and experienced players how to improve their flipping skills in old school RuneScape, and we would love to have you there. As you can see with my flipping here, I'm being pretty active with things. If something is sitting for too long, I'm tending to bump it up and just give it a little bit of a better margin, or a smaller margin that is. That being said, I don't recommend manually checking the margin multiple times. Just bump it up 1k or 2k, whatever you can really afford to still get that 10k margin on it, and just go from there. Keep in mind that if at any point an item does buy or sell, that means you are on the right margin and you don't have to move it at all. So even if an item sits for 5 minutes, 30 seconds, and then one of them finally buys, don't worry about it, just leave the offer there. That means you're on the right margin and you don't have to do anything. We've got most of our offers back on the exchange now with sell offers. Anything that hasn't bought yet, we've also done readjustments on. I think the Darox plate leg margin might have moved on us a little bit, but we'll keep a close eye on it. Also, the Guthans helmets I'm trying to sell for 2k over the original margin now, as opposed to 4k. We're going to see if those sell. Quick update on how things are going. We're not having a ton of luck on the Carol's leather tops, and we're actually offloading them for a slight loss. Looks like it might be about 50k in total, but every other item is actually working for us, which is really nice. And of course, you know, profit is not guaranteed when you are flipping items. Sometimes you will end up in a situation where you are going to have to sell for a loss, but I can almost guarantee that if I left this around 1,650k, they would have sold. I'm on a little bit of a time crunch for this video though, as I'm trying to get it up before I leave for a business trip. There we go, we finally sold off the Darox plate legs. We had to walk the margin down a little bit, but we still ended up making 34k on them in the end. I'll post a screenshot of all the items we did flip today, you know, Barrows items of course, the ones we made money on, the ones we lost money on, and the ones we margin checked that we did not go ahead and flip. In the end, we did end up making 339k just in this session alone, which took about 18 minutes from start to finish on only Barrows items. This was to show you guys that flipping Barrows items is actually very powerful, and if you have between a 25 to 100 mil cash stack, I highly recommend flipping them, as they are a pretty safe item to go ahead and flip, and they can honestly make you a lot of money. Anytime I leave Barrows items in and I walk away from the Grand Exchange, they almost always flip for a profit. And of course, on this video, we did end up losing a little bit on the Carol's leather tops, but I don't think it was too big of a deal. Anyway guys, be sure to drop a like if you did enjoy this one. Let me know in the comments below if you did enjoy this guide. I know it was a little bit quicker of a guide, but I did want to show you guys the power of Barrows items. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one.